Dean Martin was a walking, talking, crowd-pleasing advertisement for getting wasted. Wherever he went, it was always happy hour, and all of his fans were invited to enjoy a scotch on the rocks and join in on the party. Some folks, including Dean's son and daughter, said he was actually sipping on apple juice when he went on stage. Others begged to differ. Frank Sinatra was quoted as saying that if there ever came to be an Olympic drinking team, then Dean Martin would be the ideal candidate for that team's coach. Keep watching to see how Frank Sinatra confirmed Dean Martin's wild drinking habits. Dean Martin's legacy. Dean got his start in the industry as the straight man for Jerry Lewis. The two were among the most popular comedy acts in the nation during the early to mid-1950s. After they parted ways, Martin became a full-time singer and developed his signature drunk persona to go along with it. He didn't seem interested in actually belting out tunes during his loose, slapdash Vegas shows and TV appearances. Rather, he preferred to promote the virtues of drinking culture and getting smashed. Dean became famous for his witty one-liners downplaying the negative effects of heavy drinking. At one point, he said he didn't drink anymore, before going on to jest that he preferred instead to freeze it and eat it like a popsicle. Another famous Dean Martin quote making light of alcoholism went something along the lines of, "You're not really drunk if you can still lay on the floor without needing to hold on." Martin and his raucous stage act was one of the top draws in Vegas for decades. And when he was given his own TV show, The Dean Martin Show, in 1965, it went on to enjoy high ratings for the majority of its 9 seasons. Frank Sinatra may have gone down in history as being the greater artist, but Dean is still seen as being one of the most influential figures of his day. And while some of his records haven't stood up to the test of time as well as Sinatra's, countless artists that came after him cited Dean as a significant influence, especially in terms of vocal delivery. Before we tell you more, be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Dean's daughter claimed his Dino personality was just a gimmick. Speaking to the LA Times some years back, Dean Martin's daughter, Deanna Martin, told the outlet that when her father's career first took off, he wanted to recreate his nightclub act at the Sands Hotel in Las Vegas with the help of some writers. The writers thought they could simply put a drink and cigarette in Dean's hands and play up his handsome, debonair persona. That approach ended up being wildly successful, as for a time, every man wanted to be like him and every woman wanted to be with him. According to Dean's daughter, as well as his son, the truth was Dean wasn't actually rocking back cocktail after cocktail while on stage. Instead, he would go out with a rather conspicuous glass of apple juice on the rocks. Deanna said that when her dad would come home at the end of the day, he and her mother would enjoy one cocktail together. Instead of always being drunk and wild, Deanna says her father was loving and kind and an altogether different man than what everyone thought. This video is brought to you by Vite Ramen. Their ramen is easy to make and only takes 3 minutes. Imagine a meal crafted by a Michelin star chef with real superfoods designed by a top nutritionist. Vite Ramen is made with the superfood quinoa as well as traditional ingredients like wheat and real kansui. Up to 31 grams of protein, but not just any protein, complete proteins, with all the amino acids you need provided by quinoa. Vite Ramen is a small business crafting high-protein ramen in small batches here in the US. Our favorite flavor is chicken. We love how quickly this meal comes together and can't get over how great it tastes. Click on the link below to get a bundle that gives you $25 in value of free gifts and free shipping in the contiguous US, and don't forget to use my code FACTSFIRST at checkout for an additional 10% off. That's viteramen.com/FactsFirst, or just click the link below and use the code FACTSFIRST. Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin's relationship was on the rocks. In 2006, Jerry Lewis made a rare late career appearance at Boston University's School of Management to promote his newly released memoir at the time, Dean and Me, A Love Story. While entertaining questions from attendees, Lewis kept everyone in the crowd laughing. Even so, he made sure to answer some of their questions as earnestly and honestly as he could. He spoke candidly about his longtime friendship with Dean Martin. He even went as far as to call Martin his man crush while referring to him as the most handsome man he ever knew. The two met on the corner of Broadway and 54th Street in New York City in 1946. At the time, Martin was wearing a camel hair coat with his hair slicked back. As soon as Lewis saw him, he knew he wanted to be Martin's friend. Dean and Lewis began their long-standing working relationship while performing together at Atlantic City's 500 Club. At their first show together, Lewis said their act wasn't merely met with laughs, it created a pandemonium. The two went on to collab in what some have called the greatest vaudeville act of all time, while also making 16 films together. But 10 years to the day after they met, Dean and Jerry ended their professional and personal relationship on July 25, 1956, after doing one last gig at Manhattan's Copacabana Club. Martin saw himself being pushed into the background while Lewis stole the show. Tired of taking a back seat, Martin went off on his own, and the two didn't speak again for 2 decades. Dean and Jerry reunited on stage 20 years after splitting up at Lewis's annual Labor Day Muscular Dystrophy Telethon event. Jerry apparently panicked when he had to share the stage with his old estranged partner. All he could muster up was a somewhat awkward question about whether or not Dean was working. The audience thought it was a hoot, but after that event, the two continued to avoid each other. Despite Dean's reputation for being a heavy drinker, Jerry Lewis insisted, just as Deanna did, that Martin only ever drank apple juice while performing. According to him, it wasn't until after Dean's son's death that he, quote, really let himself go. Lewis claimed that after that tragic event, Martin became reclusive and fell on the bottle hard to ease his troubles. Dean Martin passed away on Christmas Day, 1995. Following his old friend's death, Lewis attempted to set the record straight about a few things. While the press often slighted Martin, Lewis made it known that without him, he would have been nothing more than a record act. When he was asked by the BU audience what he thought Dean Martin would have thought about his memoir, Jerry opined he would have loved it. Lewis said he gave Dean every bit of credit he deserved. Some claim Dean Martin's glass was a prop. While Jerry Lewis and Deanna Martin claimed that the glass of scotch in Dean Martin's hand was actually apple juice, quite a few people close to him begged to differ. For one thing, it seemed as if Dean played the drunk role a little bit too well for it to be fake. He'd go out on stage with a glassy stare while slurring his speech. He would often miss his cues and even occasionally forget the lyrics to his own songs. While it's fairly clear Dean was a fan of the bottle, J&B Scotch in particular, it's true that throughout his performances, you'd rarely see him consume more than one glass of liquid courage. A few claim the glass merely served as a prop. It also proved to be a good excuse whenever he did flub a line. Martin's son Ricci insisted his father wasn't that big of a drinker off stage either. In fact, he said he never once saw him drunk in his life. According to Ricci, whenever Dean would drink at home, he would be as calm, collected, loving, and funny as when he didn't. Now it's time to hear from you. Do you think Dean Martin's drunken onstage persona was the real deal or just an act? Let us know in the comment section below. And before you go, make sure you give this video a like and subscribe to Facts First if you haven't already. Click the bell icon to stay updated on all our latest content.